So the Jeffrey Epstein story is back, and wow, has it brought a storm of confusion with it. You've probably seen the names, the headlines, the memes, but what do these files actually say? It's a total maze of information. So today, we're going to try to give you a map, a clear, fact-based guide to what's real, what's just a rumor, and what's actually happening right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First up, we're going to tackle why this is even a story again all of a sudden. Then we'll define what these so-called files actually are. After that, we'll get some crucial background on Epstein himself, try to separate the wild rumors from the hard reality, and finally, I'll give you a simple guide for navigating this whole complex story on your own. All right, so let's just dive right in with the question that's probably on everyone's mind. The short answer? A court order. You see, for years, there were thousands and thousands of pages of documents related to a lawsuit involving Epstein, and they were all sealed, locked away from the public. Well, a judge recently ordered them to be unsealed, and that release is what has absolutely ignited this global conversation all over again.
Okay, so what exactly are these files anyway? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
This is so important to understand. There is no single master list of guilty people. That's just not what this is. What we're actually talking about is a massive collection of legal paperwork from a civil lawsuit that was filed years ago. Think of it more like a legal archive, not some big, bad criminal indictment list. So what's inside this legal archive? Well, it's a real mix of raw legal material. You've got depositions, that's sworn testimony, people talking under oath. You've got witness statements, tons of legal arguments back and forth between lawyers, and yeah, mentions of those now infamous flight logs. Basically, it's a really messy combination of evidence, allegations, and just a ton of legal paperwork. And this right here, this is the crucial takeaway from all of this. Just seeing a name pop up in these documents does not automatically mean that person is guilty of anything. Seriously, they could be a witness, an employee, a pilot, or just someone who was mentioned in passing in a conversation. Without context, a name is really just a name. Okay, so to really get the context here, we have to take a quick look at the man at the very center of this whole thing. Jeffrey Epstein's story is a pretty sharp trajectory. He kind of pops up in the 80s and 90s, building this reputation as a super wealthy and well-connected financier. His legal troubles first really hit the headlines back in 2008 with a very controversial plea deal down in Florida. But the real bombshell was his 2019 arrest on federal sex trafficking charges. That brought his case to global attention, which all came to a halt when he died in his jail cell while waiting for his trial. So what was the key to his whole operation? His network. Absolutely. He used his incredible wealth and social status to build relationships with really powerful people. We're talking politics, business, science, even royalty. And that access, that's a huge reason why these documents are getting so much attention. And that, of course, brings us to the part of the story everyone's talking about. The famous names, the crazy rumors, and, well, the actual reality. Okay, this is where it gets super tricky, right? Let's just take Donald Trump as a case study. On one hand, you have the online world, which is just filled with widespread claims and conspiracy theories trying to link him directly to Epstein's crimes. But then, what does the factual record actually show? It confirms they had social connections in the past, which was already public knowledge. However, within these newly released files, there is no confirmed public evidence of his involvement in any of Epstein's criminal activities. And that difference, the difference between knowing someone and being involved in their crimes, is just everything. Which brings us right back to this vital point. Being named is not the same as being accused. And being accused, that's definitely not the same as being convicted. These legal distinctions matter enormously, especially when people's reputations are on the line and misinformation is just spreading like wildfire online. So, with all this noise, how are you supposed to make sense of it all? How do you navigate this maze without getting lost? Well, here's a simple guide. Look, it's just a basic truth of the internet age, right? A shocking headline, a wild conspiracy theory, that stuff is always going to travel way faster than a nuanced, careful, fact-checked report. And in a story with this many famous people and this much public interest, that whole effect is just amplified like 1,000 times over. So here's a simple but really powerful 3-step guide you can use. First up, check the source. Seriously, is this information coming from a credible news organization with editors and fact-checkers, or from a random anonymous account online? Second, look for corroboration. Are multiple independent and reliable sources all reporting the same thing? And third, and this is a big one, learn to tell the difference between a verifiable fact and someone's opinion or just pure speculation.
And all of this really leaves us with one last critical question. In a story like this, where reputations can be destroyed by a single click or a share, what is our responsibility? It's so easy to just see something, get angry, and hit retweet. The harder path, the more important one, is to just pause for a second, to ask questions, and to demand facts over the satisfying simplicity of fiction. That's not just the takeaway for this story, it's the challenge for all of us in this digital age. Thanks for sticking with me through this breakdown.